the afflicted. Press on for the least. Press on for the lost. Press on for the left behind. Press on for the rule of law. Press on for the American way of life. Press on for democracy. We're going to press on until victory is won.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries pressed on for a record-shattering 8 hours and 44 minutes to delay last week's Republican mega bill, which squeaked through after only 2 Republicans voted against it. I hope he's had time to rest his voice because we have a lot of questions. Please welcome back House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Well, welcome back.
Good to be with you.
How you
Nice to
feel?
see you.
Okay.
Well, when you first started speaking, people thought that you would delay the vote by an hour, and instead you spoke on the Senate floor for 8 hours and 44 minutes. This is becoming a trend for you. What was behind the decision to keep going?
Well, I thought, first of all, that this kind of bill, which is going to have such a dramatic impact on people all across the country, I mean, literally millions of everyday Americans are going to be hurt, and it's all being done to reward billionaires. Unacceptable, right? Unconscionable, un-American. That it needed to be debated in the light of day, not passed in the middle of the night,
Right.
which was the original intention. This debate started at 3:28 a.m. And so, you know, this is such an unprecedented assault on health care, on the economy, on nutritional assistance, on higher education, on everything.
Yeah.
That we just wanted to be able to do everything that we could to fully air the challenges with the bill, but also see if we can persuade just a handful of Republicans to do the right thing by the American people.
Well, you persuaded 2, and one person, as I understand it, was absent from the vote, which could have changed it. But you're calling this the one big ugly bill. And not only is it projected by the Congressional Budget Office to add $3.4 trillion to our national debt, it extends tax cuts for the rich, as you mentioned. It also includes, though, big cuts to health care programs such as Medicaid, cuts to SNAP benefits for the poor. My understanding is in New York, about 1 million people will be affected by this. Can you talk about the implications for health care and how it affects people who don't even use these programs?
Well, first of all, like in America, health care shouldn't simply be a privilege. It should be a right to every single American. And presidents throughout the years, whether that's, you know, Roosevelt or Truman, you know, President Johnson, President Clinton, President Obama, President Biden, have all worked to expand access to health care.
Yeah.
But what's so extraordinary about this bill is that more than 17 million people will lose health care as a result of the, you know, cuts to Medicaid, the attack on Medicare, the attack on the Affordable Care Act, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and Planned Parenthood.
And by the way, MAGA kept saying that it was illegal aliens that were going to be kicked out. Explain to folks that there's not 17 million illegal aliens that are receiving free Medicaid.
Actually, federal law, to your point, Anna, explicitly prohibits federal dollars from being used to provide health care to undocumented immigrants.
Yeah.
And so that was always a lie. But we're dealing with some folks where facts don't matter, hypocrisy is not a constraint to their behavior, and people actually have concluded that shamelessness is a superpower. And so our view is we just have to aggressively push back with righteous intensity, continue to press on, as I indicated, as John Lewis would always inspire us to do, speak up, show up, stand up, so we can get the type of America that this country deserves.
But don't you then also, I think that's right, but shouldn't you and other Democrats be screaming from the mountaintops and tether the Republicans to this bill, because there's going to be true human loss here, right? People are going to really feel it.
Yeah, real pain and suffering. I mean, the attack on health care is not just going to result on millions of people losing access, But hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down, community-based health clinics won't be able to provide assistance.
Rural hospitals?
Rural hospitals in particular are at great risk. And in fact, people who have private insurance, once you attack the healthcare ecosystem, premiums, copays, and deductibles for tens of millions of others are going to go up. And so it's a big problem. It's an immoral thing that just took place on the floor of the House of Representatives. An immoral thing.
And at the same time that this bill, by the way, I think instead of calling it the big, ugly bill, you shouldn't call it bull. Big, ugly law now. But at the same time that it cuts SNAP benefit and it cuts health care for the neediest amongst us, it sets aside $170 billion for ICE mass deportation efforts, a bigger budget than the FBI and federal prison system combined. And last week we saw the administration opened a new migrant detention center in my home state of Florida. They're calling it Alligator Alcatraz. And we've also seen military-style ICE raids throughout cities in this country. People are being imprisoned and deported and disappeared and taken away by masked men without any due process. And the worst part is, you know, my community in particular, Latinos, are being racially profiled and targeted. Communities and families are being torn apart. But for me, the saddest part is that people feel helpless and hopeless, that there is nothing they can do. They feel there's nothing you can do as a minority in the House. What's your message to these people that feel such lack of hope and such fear?
Well, you know, we are seeing sort of an unprecedented flood of extremism being unleashed on the American people, and it's happened from the very beginning. January 20th, months and months and months, you know, of chaos, of cruelty, of corruption. But I think we can never lose hope in the resilience of the American people to face turbulence, and this is an incredibly turbulent moment, but to power our way through it and to come out stronger on the other side. That's not to say it's going to be easy. It will be challenging, but I still believe in the fundamental goodness of the American people. A recognition, one of the reasons why this bill is so deeply unpopular, and it is because they recognize that this is not what America should be all about. In terms of the deportation situation, one, we have to, of course, secure the border. We have a broken immigration system. We need to fix it. We should fix it in a bipartisan and comprehensive way. But we should also never abandon the fact that, yes, we are a nation anchored in the rule of law. We are also a nation of immigrants. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. It's one of the great strengths of the United States of America. We should not abandon it. And so as House Democrats, our view is that while we, work on making sure the border can remain secure, while we work to fix our broken immigration system, we also are going to stand up for dreamers, for farm workers, and for law-abiding immigrant families at all times. At all times.
So we're not letting them go right yet. So come on back, because we have more with House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. We are back with House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Alyssa has the question.
So, Leader Jeffries, you wear many hats, and one of your jobs is to try to win back the House for Democrats. And we were talking about immigration before we went to break. Now, some Democrats, amid the criticisms of ICE right now due to these ICE raids, have started calling for defunding ICE. Do you think that's effective going into the midterms, and do you support those calls? Well,
I definitely think that, we need aggressive oversight as it relates to the overly aggressive behavior that we've seen, from ICE, from the Department of Homeland Security. It's not what the American people actually, in my view, voted for. Donald Trump and Republicans promised to go after violent felons, but instead they're going after law-abiding immigrant families. And in fact, in some cases, deporting American citizens and children, some with cancer. America is better than this, and that's the reality. In terms of what House Democrats stand for, we believe that in this country, you work hard and you play by the rules, You should be able to experience the American dream. You should be able to afford to live the good life. And we believe that that's a good paying job, good health care, good housing, good education for your children, and a good retirement. And a good retirement, by the way, means keep your hands off of Social Security and Medicare, now and at all times. That's the good life.
I also want to ask you, because I could argue you're the most important Democrat in New York right now, and Zoran Mamandi won the Democratic primary, is poised to become the next mayor of New York City. Now, he ran as an avowed socialist. He called for defunding the police in 2020. That would mean the New York Police Department. You have yet to endorse him. Will you be endorsing him, and do you have any concerns about some of his past positions?
Well, he's actually said that he plans to keep the police fully funded. I'm scheduled to meet with him next week. And we'll have a conversation about his vision. He did run a campaign that was actually focused largely on affordability. And that was the right issue to focus on, because New York City's too expensive. America right now is too expensive.
Ain't nobody got any money because the money's all dissipated.
It's a very challenging situation in terms of affordability that we have to lean in on. In fact, Donald Trump promised that he would lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they're going up in America. And now we have to deal with the consequences of this one big ugly bill, which is now one big ugly law, Anna, as you pointed out. So we'll sit down, we'll talk. I also want to talk to him about the importance of Democrats taking back control of the United States House of Representatives next year, so we can have some balance in the country, which is what the founders envisioned.
Well, can't you also roll back this big ugly bill, because it doesn't take effect until after the midterms, correct?
Yeah, there's several provisions in the legislation that will not take effect until after the 2026 midterm elections.
Before you go, I want to ask you, I want you to say something about Texas, because the entire country is in mourning, and people have questions about why this happened and could it have been avoided. Is there something that you can do?
Yeah, it's an unspeakable and horrific tragedy. And, our thoughts and prayers go out to every single family that has experienced the loss. And we know, no parent should ever have to bury their child. And dozens will now have to bury their children. And so, with extreme weather events and the climate crisis and these natural disasters, we should never play politics, ever. Not play politics with the wildfires, not play politics with these floods, and get the American people the relief that they need and deserve. That's my commitment.
Our thanks to House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries. We will be right back.